Thursday, December 7th, 2023. And The View is confusing to me sometimes. Well, at least Amy Alyssa Farrah Fowler Griffin is. They start talking about the Republican primary debate last night, which was a shit show, as per. And so they show some clips of it, and they're just sniping. And, Vivek Ramaswamy is just like, Joy complained about him making a joke. It's like he is a joke. He's just this loudmouth bully who thinks by talking the loudest and the most he can win. But it's clear they all just think he's a piece of shit. Whoopi throws to the table, and the first thing that out of anyone's mouth is Amy Alyssa Farrah Fowler Griffin saying, "Well, don't look at me or don't ask me." One of those two. I can't remember if it was look at me or don't ask me. Either way, it was like, wait, you are the Republican. Isn't this, that's what you're there for? And usually she jumps at the chance to be the first to say something, and to sing the praises of Nikki Haley. But and all of a sudden it's like, well, this one's too embarrassing, I don't want to talk about it. That was weird to me. And it, you know Sarah Haynes has been getting on her high horse lately, which is so interesting to me because I don't really feel like she's had a lot of longstanding convictions. I think she's sort of new to having to make a stand on anything. Her, voting independent is really just a way of saying, I don't want to have to, I don't want to have to stand on a side of conviction. I think that whole independent thing is a cop out, of people not being able to say, this is what I believe. There are some that are like, there's a little from column A and a little from column B, but at this point, I don't see how much there is from the Republican column, given that they didn't have a platform in the last election, and they don't really seem to be about anything other than gaining power and stealing elections. So anyway, that's all bizarre. I did like, Sunny's getting a little, it's a little too much, but I did kind of like her takedown of Nikki Haley, and appreciate that whole idea. It's like those corporate donors do matter. You are being dishonest by saying, I'm not going to be beholden to them. She is a flip flopper and a woman, I don't think, who has a lot of political public conviction. I am fine with people changing their minds on positions, but she seems to do it not because she's had a change of heart or she's learned more. It's just politically expedient for her to have a different platform. And even Amy Alyssa Farrah Griffin didn't really. She said, I only agree with her at 70% of the time. I don't. That's a weird one to me. But she doesn't address any of the shortcomings. Anyway, the one thing that Vivek Ramaswamy said in the debates, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I did see near the end when he was talking about people in government then leaving government and going to work for lobbying groups or sitting on the boards of corporations that they had legislation in writing legislation that affected that company. And I do, and his point was that shouldn't be allowed for at least 10 years out of Congress. And I don't disagree with that statement. Kevin McCarthy is about to leave his office, and if he doesn't end up on Fox News as a pundit, that's what he'll do. He'll sit on boards and he'll rake in cash, but he doesn't really have any political sway in Washington anymore. So I don't know really how he's going to trade on that, unless he's just going to become a TV guy. But it didn't occur to me, and this was another point where Sonny actually brought this up, that the governor doesn't necessarily have to call a special election right away. But it's a congressional seat, so it's automatically up for election in November. So, like, there'd be no point in calling an election in August and then do it again in November. So, it would look, the optics wouldn't be great to not fill the seat, but if it were a switch, if it was the other way around, a Republican wouldn't fill a Democratic seat and make the majority suffer for the year. So I wouldn't mind if he just left it empty. But I'm pretty sure the New York one, Santos's seat, that election is going to get called for the first quarter of 2024. And like I said yesterday, there is a Republican candidate that's looking pretty good, which would really, that would help sort of screw the Republican majority in the House. I think it would take one more to fall, and then it would be like, hey, I don't think you get to be Speaker anymore, which would be interesting. Because at this point, Hakeem Jeffries should just be the goddamn Speaker. Which would have been the most interesting outcome of the last time they tried to elect one, because they're not doing anything. Congress is not, the Republican-led House of Representatives has not passed a single bill this term. That they're fighting just to keep the lights on and fund the government, and then fighting amongst themselves about who's going to lead them. So that's bullshit. But I did find it very funny. Speaking of McCarthy, Alyssa just said he is pet T. And I believe that. I believe that he is doing his best to try to screw them over. I'm sure he doesn't feel like he owes the Republican Party anything at this point. But Joy's point about don't kiss the butts of Matt Gaetz and Marjorie Taylor Greene, I get what she was trying to say. Stick to your convictions and stay true to yourself. But it didn't come out very well, and it was kind of hilarious watching Whoopi be like, "I'm hearing something else coming out, so we're gonna move on." And Fellow Travelers, that show that those young men are on, they're not that young. Jonathan Bailey and what's his name? Matt Bomer. Is very good and very steamy. Yeah, it's no wonder those guys had a connection, because woof, boy, are they naked a lot. Anyway, they look good naked. Yeah, so guests. I don't think I had anything else to talk about today. Oh, Taylor Swift. Taylor fucking Swift. That was it. And that's where Sunny annoyed the crap out of me. So she's the person of the year from Time Magazine, which is, I think, great. It's nice to see something positive that isn't about military action or political bullshit or an evil capitalist. She seems like an actually genuinely decent person who wants to do well by people and wants to do the right thing, no matter whether or not she's advised to do that or not. So, and I did watch that Eras Tour concert film, which could have been shorter. Apparently the concert itself was actually longer, including costume changes and additional songs that weren't in the movie. But I was like, oof, that could have done some editing. And I thought it would be more fun. I guess, if you're a Swiftie, that would have been like heaven. So I get it. And I'm not a Swiftie. I know her music, some of her music, because I'm alive, and it's hard to escape it. And I did like Sarah Haynes's reference to a lavender haze, which was cute, but nobody seemed to get or laugh at. But yeah, I I'm definitely a supporter of what Taylor Swift and how Taylor Swift does stuff. She is 100% an economic force, a political force, a cultural force. Those fans of hers, you do not cross Taylor Swift and you do not cross a Swiftie because they will go after you. So, anything happening online that's criticizing this choice of Taylor Swift as person of the year, I'm sure those Swifties are going to take it apart. Um, you don't mess with the Swifties, you don't mess with the Beehive. And I've said this before, the economy was run by Taylor Swift, Beyonce, and Barbie this year. So good on you, ladies.